I'm alive and doing things. And in a way, the dichotomy of my computers here is very much true for the dichotomy of our society right now, because we've got two different branches of society with two different, vastly different opinions as to what's going on. You know, we've got some folks saying that right now this virus thing going on, oh my gosh, is um, it's man-made and it's this and it's that and it's um, really, 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 just I'm gonna throw something. Yes, because my computer is not happy. Hey, I'm Kat, and so yeah, it's just an adventure. I'm telling you. So yeah, Doc Kayet, hi Naga. I see. Yeah, world domination plan. Yeah, people being sick is not a good idea. So I see we've got Doc Kayak, Lauren, I think that's Lewis, Todd, Nessie, Pam, Elaine, Naga, Stacy, Lawrence, Deb listens, Cornholio, Titan, Ethan, MCAT. There we are. Much better. I can see you all. I just had to refresh because there was like all sorts of different people going on. So yes, call lines are still open, by the way. That's 213-233-3998. I couldn't see the chat. Yes. See, now Duck Kayak is teasing. He lives in Hawaii. I don't know that I would live in Hawaii right now because a lot of stuff gets shipped in. And with things going on, I don't know that I would want to have to rely on my groceries being shipped in. But I have to tell you, you can at least grow a garden there. I am still waiting for it to finish warming up so I can till my garden area. And our last frost-free date isn't even for another whole, what is this? May 15, I think, May 10, something like that. So I've got 2 months until it supposedly stops freezing, which I live in North Idaho. It's actually snowed in July. So, talking about the end of an age, end of an era, and I think we're there. We are at the end of an era, and we're going to start a new one. I don't know what the new one looks like. It's going to happen after this whole pandemic thing gets done. So, what does that mean for myself as a pagan? Well, you know what? I feel more comfortable being out in the world as a pagan today than I did 5 years ago. 100%. Because, you know what? There's so much more acceptance for different beliefs and different traditions. But also, I don't know. I feel like almost the energy is stronger in the world right now. And I don't know if I'm just more attuned to it, so maybe that's it. But also, I think maybe the world is waking up a little bit. I think people are more aware of things. So, like, for instance, a couple months ago, I was in a chat room and I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about a wind and the energy of the wind or the air, the element of air, basically, and it manifests as wind for me. And so it was the full moon right around the first of the year, and I'd gone outside because, hey, it's the full moon and I wanted to celebrate it. And it was kind of a still day, or a still evening, I should say. And I go outside, and I was just hit with this wave of wind. It was like a physical force, this wind, and it was just almost negative and angry, and I get goosebumps talking about it. It just, basically, it was an ill wind. Whatever definition you put to ill wind, that's really what it felt like. And yeah, goosebumps. And it just, I knew that there was some sort of transition coming that was going to be negative and painful. I just didn't know what. At the time, I thought maybe it was something that happened in one of the social media groups because there's this brouhaha, and it was this negativity and anger and really felt like just high school hijinks, and it was just frustrating. And then now, looking back, it's like, no, this isn't what it was. I really truly experienced a bit of a foretelling, I think, of this negative thing that was coming to pass. This thing. So I think we're not done with the virus. I think it's just going to continue expanding exponentially until it reaches that cusp point, or that whatever that is, and then it will be coming, getting back under control. And Naga says pagans can be open because New Agers brought crystals and etc. to Christians, and it doesn't hit too far. Yeah, in a way, you're absolutely right, because New Agers are all about the crystals and the pendants. Even my mom had one of those little crystal pendants that hung from her rearview mirror. Thing drove me nuts because when I was drag racing in her car, it would never fail. It would just kind of fling out one way and then fling forward and hit the windshield, and it was bad. It's just one of those things. I don't like those. I don't like anything hanging from my rearview mirror, even though I have this little bitty teeny tiny broom on the back side of my mirror, just like, hey, it's my broom. So yeah, and Naga blood rites and all that stuff. That's varies with the tradition, and a lot of us do not use that much blood in our magic. It is really up to the individual who's practicing and whatever tradition you're following. Because there's some variances there. Not everybody has the same path. But yes, a lot of that's become more acceptable as we've recognized that some of the things that the society has done in the past was not very PC. So in a way, PC has really helped allow the awakening to the energy and the acceptance of being pagan or more esoteric. And I think people are just really waking up and becoming more accepting of these different belief patterns and behaviors, even though they're old ways. It's like they're the new ways. It's the new old ways, old new ways, however you want to put it. It's just the same thing, but that's what it is. So what does that mean, moving? And it's an adventure. It's that communion, that connection, and we often have just some really good energy. And when I say energy, it's not like that ooh woo woo energy. It's like energy, the life force, and it's something that you can physically feel. And when we're sitting and chatting and we touch one another and have a circle, and it's just the energy's tangible. It's not just this woo woo. It's not the woo woo energy. It's the real one. And I think we are definitely doing or moving towards that awakening and 100% acceptance of people being pagan and proud about it. We're out and proud, not just pagan, not the pride so much and that kind of thing, because we are accepting of pretty much everybody all the time. Just be yourself. That's I am more interested in someone being authentic to themselves and being real to themselves than I am about what they might do to try to make themselves look better, bigger, or more important, or something like that. Bloviated, yes. So, and yeah, Naga, something like that, yes. So Naga says he uses his own blood spilled to protect home and those inside.
Oh, that's different.
And I think, if you're going to tie yourself to a location or put yourself into an area, that's been a tradition for witches and pagans for a long time. Tying yourself to the soil, to your home, to your property, giving that essence of self. For some, yes, it's blood. They've used witch bottles. Often they're created or crafted with other elements of self, maybe spit or other bodily fluids. They found a witch bottle under a house in England a while back, and they did some testing on it, and it had urine in it, which would be, I guess, a really good stabilizer.
That stinks.
Yeah, that stinks. Just more than a lot. So yeah, but it's just part of that thing. The whomever did that was either trying to protect themselves and their property by tying themselves to the land, or help with the fertility of the space, or something like that. But maybe instead they're trying to, or somebody had done something to curse someone, and that was a curse binding to the land. Because something that I've done, I watch YouTubes and podcasts and all that, and also read. And in that study and research, break time. We'll be right back. That was quick. Hold on.
colors of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, all the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And thank you for joining me tonight. Holy cow, the chat rooms are live. Lawrence, Pam, Elaine, Naga, Stacy, Todd, Lewis, Tundra, Wandering. And then also we've got Black Tree, hi Julia, Ethan, Jessica, Lewis, MCAT, Nessie, Stacy, Suzanne, Titan, and Doc Kayak was in there. And yeah, hey, I hope everybody's all alive and kicking. And
what? Doc's in TFR chat?
Doc was in TFR chat.
Oh.
He said something about going back to work.
Oh, dang it.
And Naga, I don't know if... Yeah.
What's up, Naga?
So yes, I do believe society is waking up. The world is waking up. So for me, my personal belief is that life is cyclical. And when I say cyclical, what was will come again. And the great serpent, eating his tail, or Ouroboros. There's too many vowels in that word. It's I think it's real. So the age of legends, if you will, the age of heroes. Once upon a time, I think the gods definitely walked with us, beside us, in those big things that used to happen. Really did happen. And I think the gods stepped back, kind of like a science experiment, if you will, and just to see what we were going to do, how we were going to handle things. And I think we lost a lot of our own power. No. We lost a lot of our own energy. I think people took advantage. Those with greater power, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think that happened. And as a result, I think we lost a lot of that power and that energy. And as the wheel is turned, as life is turned, I think we are slowly approaching a time when the gods will walk with us again. And I think I don't know if it'll look different. It'll look different than it does right now, that's for darn sure. I think that's why there's been more and more sightings of cryptids, such as, Bigfoot, or Mokele Mimbi, or Loch Ness Monster, or the Black Dog, or Mothman. I think not that they're really harbingers necessarily of the change, but I think in a way they are, because as those entities are becoming more and more out there, if you will, I think we're going to see more of them. The little people, elves, gnomes, the fae, all of that. We're going to see more. We're going to experience more. So, yes. I think it's going to happen. It's just, it takes time. Will be completely done in my lifetime? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. In my daughter's lifetime? Yes, 100%. I think she will see it. I think she's a sensitive anyways. She's an old soul, that's for sure. I think we're slowly approaching more open-mindedness about some of those creatures that, we've assumed were just mythology. Fanciful thinking. Just an excuse for, whatever went bump in the night, if you will. And, yeah, I think it's coming. And I'm curious to see what it's going to look like at the end. I'm kind of like um any new adventure, right? It's like, woohoo, we're going to go on this road trip. It's going to be fun and everything. And you're all ready to go. You've got that anticipation of things happening. And then on the way home, you're like, woohoo, we had a great time. We experienced all these things. It's the stuff in the middle I get impatient for. So,
The spaces in between.
yeah, shush. But yes, the stuff really in between. I want it to hurry up and get here so I can experience it. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Because it won't be easy. I think it'll be hard. And I think that transition will be very painful. That waking up will be very painful for some
It has
people.
been so far.
Because there's a lot of people out there who just don't want to take the blinders off. They're just happy in their ignorance. And I mean, and not just a little ignorance, but I mean, it's like they're wallowing in it. And they just can't let go. And that's really unfortunate because it's like they can't see. I mean, you put on your sunglasses. Maybe you've got dark sunglasses, whatever. You go outside so you can see without the sun, the glare, really glaring your eyes. Then you go inside, you don't take the sunglasses off. You're still having the colors muted and everything is muted when you go inside, so you don't see as clearly. And then you take your sunglasses off when you're inside, and suddenly, woohoo! Oh my gosh, I can see so much more now. There's so much, the colors are brighter and everything. And in a way, I think some of those people out there just really like the really dark sunglasses, and they don't want to see. And yeah, absolutely, Naga. Ignorance is bliss. They definitely say, "Ooh, well, I didn't know."
Yeah, but that's not a reason. That's not. Your ignorance can be fixed. It's your. You need to really look around. I mean, if you can't see it, even right now with everything that's going on, you cannot be blind to any of those facts. You just can't. You can't miss it. There's no way. It's everywhere. And if you don't see it, then it is ignorance, and you're choosing to be the blissful ignorant. And that makes you the biggest sheep on the face of the earth.
Yeah, or lemming. Yeah. But yeah, I really do think that.
No, it's not stubbornness. It's stupidity, Black Tree.
Well, in a way, stubbornness can be founded in stupidity. I think they can be very closely linked.
No, I think yes, they're very closely linked.
Yeah.
They're like kissing cousins.
Cousins shouldn't be kissing. Anyways, but yeah, I think that's why we're having the paradigm shift, where we are seeing more and more people who have had experiences with the cryptids, whatever it is, and even aliens to an extent. I think as people are letting their minds open, not just their third eye, but their minds, and allowing themselves to see,
experience.
Yeah, I think in some ways, fear has held them back, because fear of the unknown is like, ooh, I don't know, and the trepidation. But I think, it's slowly people are waking up, and I think, I don't know. I think the transition, the end of it, will be a cool product, but the period of time between now and then, I think, is going to be bumpy. I think it's going to be very bumpy, because there's going to be a lot of people who refuse to let go.
But that's not an excuse to be ignorant. You have the choice. You have a choice. You can either go with it, or you can buck the system. You have to make a choice. Even not making that choice, guess what?
It's still a choice.
It's still a choice. And you choose to be ignorant to facts, or the obvious, or what everybody else is telling you. And if you want it, that's a sheeple.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I think going against the grain. It is a little bit going against the grain. It's like trying to make the Mississippi River run backwards. It's happened twice. There was a big earthquake involved, so
That does change things.
yeah, it does. But
Shakes it up a
it
bit.
shakes things up a bit. So I think maybe we're, the etheric shake up right now.
Mm. Is that with an E or an A?
Both. Ether and aether. Aether is more spiritual.
Oh,
Ether is more energy.
sure.
That's what I think, anyways. It's
Okay.
my show, so there.
It's your microphone. As Brent likes to say, you get to listen to what I say because I'm the one with the microphone.
Right. Well, you have a microphone too right now.
Yeah, but I'm always the sidekick.
You
Not the psychic, sidekick.
that's
The plucky one.
you're the plucky sidekick.
Yes.
You're not the comic relief.
I'm not the plucky hero.
Well,
No,
so-
Mal, you're not the plucky hero.
Right. So I don't know. I think people are becoming more and more opening that third eye.
Hmm.
And
But see, it doesn't make a difference if you can open your third eye all you want. If you don't connect your brain, it's still ignorance.
yeah. And people love to be ignorant.
Sorry, I got you sidetracked.
Yeah, you did. I totally lost my train of thought now. It's gone. Gone. Happens.
Do you have notes? Go back to your notes.
I don't have notes.
You don't have notes tonight?
Didn't have any notes last night either.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I'm winging it. I'm flying free.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Free ballin'.
No, that's a totally different
Oh.
song.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
But yeah, so Lawrence, you're right.
It's
You can
getting
feel
fun.
that energy
Yes.
in your body, 100%. Like here where I live in North Idaho, we've got this really big lake, and it's a big, beautiful lake.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what? How far is the river from here?
The river?
Yeah, the river.
The one right out there?
Yeah, the one right out there.
Like a block? Like a city block?
It's 2 or 3 blocks.
It
It's
is not. It's just across the 20 acres.
Okay, so it's 20 acres away, whatever that distance is. I would say 3 blocks. Don says 1. So yeah, I guess it depends on what city you're in. Anyways,
I'm from Seattle.
he's from Seattle, and I'm from originally small towns in Iowa, so that would be 3 or 4 blocks to me. Anyways, I've walked further to get to work. And it's a beautiful river. The water here is so clear.
It is.
Crystal clear. And oh gosh, I have a caller. Did you know that?
No, because I can't see the call board.
Caller, I'm so sorry. You've been waiting patiently. So I'm gonna stop my thought. I'm gonna remember it. And hold on. Let me get to the right spot. Do. Caller, you are on the air. Area code 276. Hello. Oh, you hung up on me because I am a
Oh.
loser. Yes, you can call in. Naga asked if he can call in, and yes, absolutely, call in. It's esoteric and we're talking about magic and stuff. And yeah, anyways, it's so the river here, if just going down to the river, and for me, water in general has a lot of energy to it, especially flowing water. And there's times when you look at the water, and flooding and all that, and you can tell that it's the water has a lot of energy because it's tearing up trees and it's flooding and all that stuff, and so it's real, and so when the flooding dies down and everything. Suddenly, you can see, or the water becomes clear here, anyways. And if you're in the water, you can really feel the energy of it. I think. Maybe I'm just weird, but I can feel the energy of the water. It's coming from the mountains. Often it's colder than I'll get out because we have snowpack that melts, and yeah, it's cold. And but in August it feels great. But in the lake you can feel the energy of the lake, and we've got a big old lake, and it's got a Navy base on it. It's so big. It's not a secret. Everybody knows about it. Don't look at me like that.
Don't tell me. I know that.
Anyways, but yeah, no, it's got a big. It's a really big lake, and it's. I don't know. I can feel the energy there too, and it's just the lake just feels relaxing and calming, and I don't know. It's probably a good thing I've never actually been to the ocean.
Yeah, why?
I would never leave.
The ocean's awesome.
Yeah.
If it wasn't connected to the West Coast, I'd be happy.
Or the West Coast could always move inland.
Well, there's a speculation that says there's a giant asteroid coming.
Yeah, I heard of that.
Sometime end of April, I think it was. And it's supposed to hit, from what I'm understanding, it's supposed to hit somewhere off the coast of California.
Really? Yeah.
And if it does, it's going to create an extinction level event.
Well, Yellowstone could blow, and that would be the same kind of thing.
You know what's funny that you mention that? There happens to be in Yellowstone a piece of Yellowstone the size of Chicago, supposedly pulsating.
Yeah, I read
and
that.
we know that's a super caldera, a super volcano. So,
yep. So
we're all going to be dead.
Yeah, it could happen, but yeah, it could happen. Anything could happen. Nessie says I should go to New Zealand because I can visit both the mountain and the ocean.
Apparently only you can go.
I would love to go to New Zealand.
That'd be cool.
That would be super cool.
I'd have to have Nessie show me around.
I don't know that I would get on a plane right now or a boat. I don't know how I would get there.
Well, we could project.
Yeah.
Visit the Shire.
I think it'd be great. It'd be fun.
You guys. So, what did you start the show about? You were talking about the virus, weren't you?
No, I did a little bit, and then I think we're at the end of an age.
Oh, yes. And that's an interesting thing, too, because, I won't go there, but somebody said something, it was just happenstance that the number 2012 came up today. And it was kind of funny because, of course, the Mayan calendar was supposed to end, and the world was supposed to end in this giant cataclysm and all this kind of stuff. And look at what's happening in the world today. It seems like a giant cataclysm.
Right.
So I thought it was kind of funny. But, anytime people mention, the end of an age, they don't separate it from the end of the world, because that's what the Mayan calendar was. It was just the end of the age, the end of the fifth age, as a matter of fact.
Exactly.
And the Mayans believed that there would be 5 ages, and something different would happen. But people took it as the end of the world, some kind of cataclysmic event.
Well, and maybe it was, but
it wasn't a physical cataclysm. It was a spiritual cataclysm.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I was going. So
yeah, I think you're right.
There have been different ages: the Middle Ages, the Renaissance age.
The Dark
all this
Ages,
kind of stuff.
et
The
cetera, et
Dark
cetera.
Ages.
Mm-hmm.
The Age of Enlightenment, the Age of Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So people get, when they hear something like that, the end of an age, they mistake it for the end of physicality.
Right, and for some people, the end of an age could be the end of the world.
True.
But it really depends on what's going on. But I think it's just the end of an age.
And that's kind of, and I would have to agree with that because, especially with the awakenings, not being woke, but the awakening
Mm-hmm.
that seems to be happening. I think that's very, very. I think it's right on. I think you're
Yeah,
in
and
line there.
so, and what I was talking about at the top of the hour is like, the end of an age is not just like you turning a page or closing a book. It's like, ooh, this chapter's done. Let's go to the next chapter. It's not that hard line.
Hmm.
It's a blurred line, and it takes time for one age to end and one age to be completely started.
Right.
Um,
Would it be the space between?
no, not really. It's more of a blender thing. Think a frog in a blender.
Oh.
Um, and it's because the analogy I used is like the Bronze Age and the Iron Age.
Hmm.
When the transition went from one to the other, it wasn't absolute.
Well, yeah.
It
No,
was.
yeah, of
It
course
started
not. It's
off
not gonna
with
be
one
it's
artisan, and then it
right.
spread out. It's
not
like,
going to be a
woo.
90-degree angle.
Exactly.
It's going to be very obtuse.
Yeah, you're funny. You're just so cute. Um, but it's that transition is not smooth. I think.
That's the awakening, though.
Yeah, and I think that some people will be more resistant,
Mm-hmm. We've already
and
discussed that.
yep, and some will be very, very open to it.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it could very well be that rapture that the Christians think are going to experience. They may actually be the ones to die off.
Goodbye, you 144,000.
Actually, that's not very many if you stop and think.
Oh, not in the history of the world.
I am more eclectic, if you will, and so I don't know that much about Wicca. So I can't speak to it. So if somebody else is Wiccan and wants to chime in, I'm more than welcome. Yeah, call me, and we'll talk about it. But it's for me. I don't know. There's some security, I suppose. That
Tax
you could-
breaks.
Yeah. Wiccans get tax breaks. I don't.
Well, wicked churches get tax breaks. Are they called churches?
I don't know. Yeah, technically, because
Well, they are technically churches.
yeah, they are technically churches because Americans have to classify everything. But it's. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
But anyhow, but
So-
yeah, but anyhow,
I'll have to do that on a different show when I have someone who's
yeah,
Wiccan.
because yeah, exactly. Maya's Wiccan, isn't she?
I think so.
She had her on your show,
Maya?
My Pagan Life.
Oh, My Pagan Life. Yes, man. It's Mia.
Mia, that's my fault.
I'm like, Maya who, where, what? Yeah,
That's-
My
I-
Pagan Life.
Mia,
Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
So yeah, yes, she's Wiccan, and there's other people who are Wiccan that have been. Lola's Wiccan too, technically.
Is she? Oh.
Um. Yeah, pagans do have a super hard time on the tax break. Yeah, because where's your church?
Exactly.
Well, my church is the forest. My backyard, my front yard, my side yard,
Mine
my
is
garden.
wherever I be.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, pretty much anywhere where you are. It's easy, I think, for pagans to be connected with their spirituality because we can do it anywhere. We don't have to go to a church. We don't have to
Mm-hmm.
have a priest tell us how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're just more connected. I mean, for me, I just go outside and actually I don't even have to go outside. Meditation It's good for you. You should do it. Just like washing your hands, you should do that too. I feel like I should be doing a commercial that says, wash your damn hands. I really do, because
Wow, that's a sparkly bun you got.
it's funny. I hear the train going by, but I can also hear the helicopter going around. We've had a helicopter flying around
Yeah,
today.
that's been creeping me out.
So technically it's a training exercise is what they're saying.
Yeah, and there's a FEMA camp between here and the next town north.
Yeah, there's always a FEMA camp.
There is a FEMA camp.
Yeah, I know. So, anyways, we are going to go to break. It's top of the hour already.
Wow, I can waste time like no other.
We'll be right back, you guys.
All written the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever does.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we
Wow.
are off adventuring into the spaces between. And woohoo! We're hour number 2.
Beginning of the second hour on the second day of having a 2-hour show.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Nice
And you
to
know
be with
what?
us.
If I remember correctly, and I would have to really go back and look, but I think this is even the anniversary weekend from when I started.
For TFR?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? Been doing this for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. A year.
Wow. You know what happened to me and Brent this time last year?
What's that?
We started our podcast.
Yeah, a lot happens in a year.
Yep.
A lot happens in a year. So yeah, woohoo! It's been a year.
So anyhow, let's get off depressing stuff, like black helicopters.
Yeah, the black helicopters.
God.
Yeah. Well, no. I know there's been some National Guard called up.
Okay,
and all
so
that stuff,
if you're going to
so-
continue to talk about it, let's
Sure,
talk
why not?
about this real quick.
Yep, get it off your chest.
We signed a peace treaty with the Middle East, correct? Yes, that's why gas prices are going down. Anyhow, we signed a peace treaty with the Middle East. Where are all those military units going after they leave?
Who knows? We don't know yet.
And now we have black helicopters flying around our heads.
You know they do this every year. Did you know that?
No, they don't.
Well, normally
Not this obviously. Then they are. I've seen them like 5 times today at work.
Yeah, it was all over Facebook about who are they and why are they here and
They're military. That's all there is to it.
Well, yeah, we've got an Air Force base, just
Well, I know that too, but that's not the point.
So, anyways,
Anyhow, so
Dawn has a little tiny phobia when it comes to black helicopters.
no.
Just a little one. Tiny one.
No.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So, anyways, so yeah, there's I don't know. There's things are happening
Yeah,
all over the place.
and it has to do with that awakening.
Mhm,
So
I think so.
the
And I
end
think
of an
people
age,
yep.
yeah.
And I think people are afraid,
Mhm.
and people include politicians and political leaders.
Oh well, let's talk about all the CEOs that have jumped ship in the last month.
Right.
Oh my God, there's like over 1,000.
I know it's pretty crazy.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard Bill Gates stepped down or
Yes,
retired.
he retired. Yep. So yeah,
You know what else happened? Nancy Pelosi sold off like most of her stocks too.
yeah. Just before everything crashed.
Yeah.
That sounds like insider trading to me.
Oh,
I'm just putting it out there.
let's just stay off that one.
Yeah, I don't want to have a Hillary heart attack.
Oh my God, we're excited.
Sorry, I don't. Yeah. Okay,
So,
moving on.
But let's talk about the awakening of the. So we talk about the awakening, the spiritual awakening, the movement to get away from the dogmas and the death cults and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to happen through this time?
Ooh, what do I think is going to happen?
Well, you said that the deities or the gods, however you refer to them, will once again walk among us.
Hmm.
So, alien invasion?
Possibly. Maybe that asteroid is really a spaceship.
Oh, so it's like the Hale Bop, right? Hale Bop, and then there's a spaceship behind it.
Yeah, but
Like drafting on it.
who knows? Yeah, it's think of the speed racer. The asteroid's just the engine, and there's a pod behind it bouncing along. I don't know.
Wow.
Yep.
You're crazy.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not drinking wine tonight.
Maybe we should be.
Yes, Pam, insider trading big time. So, I think, actually, honestly, I really feel that the gods have been walking with us around us for a while.
Well, but I mean
But
more revealing of themselves. I mean,
yeah,
like,
I think, I don't know. I think there will be a trigger point when they're like, okay, we have to step forward now. I don't know what that'll be. I don't know what that trigger will be, because there's been some pretty crappy stuff has happened in our world, and they
plagues
haven't
of
stepped
locusts,
I was thinking more like Hiroshima.
Yeah.
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 There's been some crappy things happening, and I think it's just when they decide to step forward, whatever reasonably, maybe the veil between this world and the next will be maybe it'll tear, maybe it'll become more transparent. I think that there's I think something more elemental will happen than war.
Hmm.
If I guess is what I'm, and why haven't they stepped forward? Jessica wants to know why they haven't stepped forward. I think they're, in a way, I think it's because of time. I think Chronos maybe, or just time in general. We had to get to the point where we would accept them again. Because I mean, stop and think about it. If we all watch movies and all that, and think of your Avengers and all that. So if Thor had fallen out of the sky in the late 70s, early 60s, would he have been hailed as...
Late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Would he have been hailed as a god, or would he have been accused of being a Russian spy?
Oh, you're talking Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, or... would we have been able to recognize that Thor was another power rather than, just a spy or a demon or what have you?
Well, that's like I mentioned last night. That I was talking about, my belief, and that is that, you can entreat and you can invite and celebrate or venerate your deity that you feel drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's great. But I think they want to step back, and they have stepped back, and that. They want us to do for ourselves, and maybe call it an illusion of free will, or maybe it just is free will. Either way.
All right. I've got a call.
Oh, call. Go ahead.
I do have a call.
Yeah,
Woo-hoo. Area code 386, you're on the line.
Is that Florida?
Yes.
That's our Florida man, Mr. Naga.
Yeah, Don knew.
Don's trying to be all-seeing and all-powerful, yeah. Mm-hmm. How's it going, Naga?
No, it's first time calling in for the show.
Yep.
Thank you. So what's up?
No, I was gonna say, like, you actually hit something that me and my wife have been debating for, the last 5 years that me and her have been together. We both have very family backgrounds, and everybody has their things, and we found I'm pagan by nature. Half of my family is. My wife, she decided to be Wiccan the way that she decided to be Wiccan, and I'll let her explain that if she decides to be one day to get on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But like you guys were talking about the whole, I really. Like you were saying about like movies, we all like movies, popular culture, like video games, things like that. One thing that's always interested me is like movies and video games have always kind of pushed this idea that, people who watch Stargate, let's say like people who played, video games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people have played Mass Effect. There's always the idea that there was someone who came across the universe, as big as it is, somebody created what we, let's be honest, we simpletons finally came across, and it taught us something.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if you look at some of the legends, we have some really messed up legends that really kind of hint to the fact that there's a hidden knowledge, I guess, like the ideal of Shangri-La. Like, people think it's like gold and, it's treasure. But what is treasured by most civilized societies?
Knowledge.
It's not gold. It's not material things. Exactly. It's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
If there was people who were maybe, going across multiple planets and, I also subscribe to the idea that maybe we're a petri dish. Or a reality show. Hey, South Park is kind of funny. but the idea that someone came around multiple planets, I mean, it would be weird to think that we're the first ones that ever, you know, this is me and my family butt heads. They are Catholics, and they didn't like the new Pope's idea that, you know, there might be extraterrestrials because he was the first Pope to make maybe that's happening. I think he's interesting in the idea that he allows that idea. But most people sit there and, you know, most religions fight the idea of this, but why would it be so weird? Like, you know, most people, anybody who's watched Ancient Aliens, you know, why would it be so weird that if you really look at the idea of gods, I mean, we've had millions of them. Why would it be so weird that some of the legends of the hidden treasures aren't just basically downloadable, you know, hard drives of another civilization? I mean, people like the idea that Roswell is the reason why we have computers and things like that. Well, what would Shangri-La or what a lot of the other cultures believe in of a why can't it be a hidden repository of hidden knowledge? Would that not be a treasure, and would that not allow us to eventually become more than who we are?
I got 2 words for you, Naga. Acacia Records.
Akashic.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Why
Okay,
do you do
exactly.
that? Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's what I do.
And I always love when people fight you on that. They don't like the idea that, you know, you have to be open to the idea that maybe what you think you know isn't really what you actually know. Is that really so hard to believe? I mean, most people thought the combustion engine was the only way to do things, and then, well, we've proven that, well, that's not the only way to make things move.
Right.
Is it so hard to believe that maybe what you thought you knew wasn't the only reason things or I mean, it's as simple as religion. Like I was talking in the chat, like, you know, I mean, I was pagan before, you know, my family tried to push the religion that they had on me, but I didn't, it didn't jive for me. And I always tell people, if it makes you a better person, I don't care what it is,
right?
You know, but it didn't work for me. But we all have actually very interesting ideas of what is treasure, and most of them have kind of the idea that there's something out there that's a massive repository that I think, in my mind, is basically like a big old hard drive of information. Maybe they sell it as gold, maybe they sell it as the dragons protecting something, you know, whatever they want to call it. But at the end of the day, but you have to be open to the idea that you also have to accept that what you think you know is not what you actually know.
And that's hard for
people.
We
thought we thought the sun revolved around us, you know, so there's that.
Right? And then flat earth and all that. But you know, I think you're right.
Right,
you know,
exactly. It is.
It's hard for people to accept that the way they think and they believe is not the only way to think and believe. And is that that expansion of mind, they have to be open to it. And I think, you know, in a way, part of the reason why I mentioned movies and such earlier is if you notice the trend, how many movies have we had about deities that are not Christian in the last 5 years? Or aliens? How many movies and TV shows?
A ton.
People having different powers and abilities, different religious beliefs that are not traditional Abrahamic, and, you know, not necessarily of this world. I mean, technically, if you were to follow the American thought process, Thor is an alien from outer space. So, and sure, maybe it is. But, you know, in a way, I can't help but think, and this is just me being slightly conspiracy theorist, I think that someone out there knows these things. Yeah, right. And they influenced Hollywood to make movies and TV shows that trended this direction in a setting where it was controlled so people could embrace it without
The soft reveal.
the soft reveal, basically, yeah. And so when the real reveal or the big reveal happens, it's not quite as shocking. It's more like, oh, so that movie was right. Okay. And people just go on with their day, and they go to
Okay, so I'll
McDonald's
give
to
you
get their
this.
cheeseburgers and Starbucks to get their coffees. So, I mean, it's...
So I'll give you this. Did you ever watch the movie Paul
Which one?
with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost?
Oh no.
Paul.
Paul. No, I didn't. I don't have a TV.
I mean, it was a total spoof, and it's a total gag
Simon
movie.
Pegg.
But
Oh, got it.
some of the things that I honestly thought was hilarious was the fact that he was like, the reason Steven Spielberg was allowed to make a movie about an alien was that it was E.T., right?
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it like, would you really want the first alien movie to be Aliens? No, you'd be terrified if an alien showed up, which we still know that 90% of America, at least I live in Florida, so
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you that 75% of Southeast United States is probably going to shoot at an alien before they ask questions. I'm not saying that's a great representative of the United States, but if you notice how there's not a lot of visitations or apparitions or anything like that on this side of the United States. Well, there's a lot of bullets, and honestly, if you had to pick, and I tell people, like, it's a joke and it is funny, but at the same time, think about if you were somebody who had, divine knowledge, which I would say that anybody who's just watching the planet entirely, would you really pick Southeast United States as your spot to say hi?
No, I wouldn't. I'd pick where
There's
where
a lot
I'm
of
at.
bullets.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a lot of bullets there. So, but anyways, I think
It's pretty dangerous.
and I think that's just goes to show that sometimes that whomever is watching, softening us up, and they'll probably not pick Kentucky or Alabama or.
We just read on the show tonight about.
No, exactly. But that was exactly what they were saying, is that the reason they showed the image of like a gray, which is basically what he was, a gray, was the fact that when you finally met a gray, you wouldn't shoot him.
Right.
You got used to the idea that if you walked out in your backyard and a gray was like, "Hi, how are you doing? I come in peace," you wouldn't shoot him. And
Well,
I
live
do
in
agree
North
upon
Idaho.
that, is that I feel like the mass media is trying to sell you, like, please, for the worst case scenarios, don't be so surprised if something randomly shows at your yard. I'm not sitting there saying they do exist. I'm not saying they don't exist. I just always say, you kind of have to look at like how science fiction's always been. They always sat there and said we wouldn't have, Star Trek's little, walkie-talkie things. Well, we have cell phones, and they're way better than that. So if there's other alien species, don't you think maybe being a real big fan of Star Wars and all these other shows, that would be interesting? But
Right.
I always taught people too. The biggest fear for me was always the idea of I'm being Japanese. My biggest fear was the AI thing or whatever. But the show that just came out not too long ago that people are starting to catch on was Altered Carbon.
I love
I
that
don't know if you
show.
saw that. Have you seen that?
Oh, now that one I did see because I have Netflix. I don't have TV, but I have a projector. And yeah, that's a
Netflix.
good one. I've not seen the second season, so no spoilers. I'll hang up on you.
No, I won't spoil it. I agree.
But
But the idea of like stacks,
Yeah.
Right.
the idea that you could imprint
Mhm.
a human being's consciousness in a digital format,
Mhm.
and like they said, like after so many times, are you still you? Like, is the soul still there? Like if a sleeve or like a body
Mhm.
was, something. I always told people my biggest fear is that I personally thought about this 20 years ago when I was a kid. I was terrified of the idea based on the show from the shell because it's an anime, and they were saying that eventually one day we're going to download our brains into basically a hard drive in your head. And
Right.
this is, even as a pagan, I didn't believe that, like souls or anything like that. But I was like, the idea that if you had that concept, a God concept would show up at some point. You would have a Hitler. You would have a person who eventually thinks that they can cheat death, well, because they can. But what happens, because me and my wife were fighting. I was like, what would happen if Hitler was allowed to have a downloadable brain?
I would
Because
download
you would never know
him
where that
and
brain got
kinda
downloaded.
kill him again.
You would have a problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. There, I
That'd be
never.
terrible,
Yeah, it
right?
would be very terrible. Very terrible.
And that
So-
show scared me because I was like, I see, like, I love when people sit there and say Elon Musk, he's pro technology. And, some people also sit there and say that he's just trying to make sure that we do it the best we can. But I always tell people, I personally think that he saw a little bit ahead of people when he was like, that's going to happen, so that it is what it is.
Yeah.
Can we at least put a law on it now before it gets too ridiculous? Because
Well,
just
the
like the carbon,
problem
they were like,
with-
well, how long before you start to, how many bodies does it take? How long of years
Right.
does it take before
Before you go
you
crazy.
start to change?
Yeah. The get the God
Yeah,
complex.
300 years, you start to get a God complex, and that's you got to be worried about that. And I'm not worried about that, but I always tell people, if we were going to travel, like they said we were going to travel across the stars, yes, that would be great. But just like anything, everything works great at first, but somebody's going to abuse it.
Right.
Right.
I was
And,
like,
and that happens.
Damn, that's a really good concept.
Yeah, it is. It's
That
a great
show scared me.
concept.
Actually.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's a good
really
show.
did.
I think in a way our sci fantasy, it's fiction, sure. It's people who are just, taking whatever their imagination can come up with and turning it into entertainment. But in a way, that's what science is. They're taking your imagination or I should say invention. You're taking your imagination and trying to turn it into, reality. And I think that's awesome. And I think at some point we'll be there. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think we're going that.
My biggest fear is how you present it.
Yeah. How do you
like,
present it and how do you regulate it?
You
Absolutely.
present it in a way like, right. How do you regulate that?
Exactly. Well, I am right now. That's above my pay grade. So, but anyway, so yeah,
It's well above mine.
yeah, right. So, we're gonna get to break here in just a few minutes, and so I want to kind of wrap up this thought process. And then, so thank you for calling in,
Absolutely.
Naga, and do it again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for taking my call.
Hey, you're very welcome, my dear.
Great show.
Thanks, Naga.
Thanks, Naga.
Thanks, Naga. How much time do we have?
Actually, we've got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just over 2 minutes.
Let me clear a thought before I get.
Yeah, I could see it percolating
Well,
over there.
yeah. So there were a couple things that we talked about on the portal tonight. We talked about one is this fish. It's called a killa. It's called a killifish. It's KILLI fish, killifish, and apparently it can put itself into basically a suspended animation if it's having hard times, like low food, bad water, whatever, and it can go into this literal suspended animation where it does not age. It slows its body down as far as possible, and it does not age during that time. And then when the conditions become right again, it can re-engage everything and live like it had not missed anything. So we were kind of, it was related to an article we were reading about, traveling stars and things like that. It was suspending the aging process for humans. So we talked about that. So it's an interesting application. It would be an interesting application to use to travel to stars, because you wouldn't actually age. Your body would just, I forgot what it was called.
Suspended animation.
No. It was called Dio something. I can't remember. But we talked about that. We also talked about right out of my head. So, but anyhow,
Yeah, I think I really do. I think sci-fi, sci-fantasy
hmm
really is opening the gates to
well, so is horror.
yeah.
28 Days Later.
Mm.
28 Days Later was a movie about a bioweapon. It was a flu mixed with rabies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's a 28-day incubation period. So
interesting. All right. So, hey, Lucky, or Truth Frequency News. Yeah.
that's lucky.
Hey, Lucky. All right, we're gonna go to break, and we will be right back for our last half. Can you believe it?
Hmm.
Woody woot! And this is the button I need to push here.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. Songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we're off adventuring into the spaces between because we can. Because we can, because we can, because we can.
I think I can. I think I can. I think I can.
All right. Do you remember your thought?
Yes. Well, no, but I wanted to go back to talking about the gods.
Okay.
So you were talking about the gods stepping back
Mhm.
and them this awakening being the reemergence of the gods, and that you believe that that's what it is. Ultimately, they're coming back and they're just kind of doing this soft entrance kind of thing.
Mhm.
And well, that reference was made to the movies, but that's not surprising because movies and TV and all that kind of stuff, even radio, has shaped our view of our world view so much that it's the best medium to use. Now, like I was talking about last night, though, I think they step back and they're not as visible or not as active in our lives in the world, because they, like I said, they want us to figure it out for our damn selves. And I started talking about entreating with them and venerating them and things like that. And in my point of view, you don't have to. It's probably a good thing every now and then. Like I said last night, I think what they do is they wait for you to find an objective to work towards, and at some point, if you're doing good, they'll give you they'll send you a blessing of some type, an omen.
Mhm.
And then if you stumble and fall, depending on which way you're going, if you're actually moving towards your goal, then they'll help you up. Unless, of course, you're like a patron of Loki. He might kick you in the ribs and then laugh and ask you why you haven't gotten up yet. But I think that's even a test, is like, he's testing you. He's saying, are you going to get up? And are you going to continue your journey? Because if you don't, you're not worthy of me. However, but I digress. But I think they're stepping back and waiting for us to do our work. And our work is to live the best life you can, help the most people, all that altruistic stuff, and all that knowledge building and spiritual building. But I don't think they take an active role because they don't want you to feel like that they're a crutch.
Right.
And so they say, do it your damn self. And if you do it right, maybe you'll get a pat on the head. Kind of like what I said last night. And if they are coming back, it kind of makes me nervous in the sense that, what have we screwed up lately? Have we screwed up that badly that they have to re-step back in? You know what I mean? So, or is it, or are we going to have a rapture? Maybe more of a rupture, but whatever.
I think maybe they're bored. I mean, you can only sit back for so long before you have to stand up and do something or say something. And I mean, if you've ever been to a play date with a bunch of little kindergartners, you can only stand still for so long before you have to go pick someone up. And in a way, we're just a bunch of kindergartners compared to the deities.
I'll give you that.
And we scrabble and we fight and we fuss and we whine and we cry and we get excited and we pee our pants. I mean, it just happens. And stuff. But I don't know. I think that in a way, maybe they get hungry for that interaction. Maybe they want to just be poke at us a little bit. Maybe we're not quite going the right direction.
Right.
Or we need to kind of we've learned that lesson already, and we need to move on to the next, but we haven't let go of the old lesson yet. I think there's some of that. In part because the old lesson was so familiar, it's hard to let go of to go to the next one. So
the ending of the age is the step towards the new.
Yeah, what's the next thing? What's the next goal?
The next lesson.
The next lesson.
Right.
And humanity, I think, are we just an experiment? In some ways, yes. I mean, it's the grand experiment, right?
Wow.
On the other hand, no, I think we're just people, trying to figure things out. Maybe the deities are the grand experiment, and we're the result.
So does that make them topos? Thought forms that we bring to life?
Possibly. I think some of it, yeah. American Gods. Have you watched that?
I know about it. I know who Neil Gaiman is very well.
So, it's an interesting book, and I read a different book that was kind of similarly written that kind of killed it for me, which was sad because it's an interesting book. Basically, there's enough thought process that, or enough emotion and energy given to a thing, a concept, that it begins to manifest as its own deity. So, technology is a deity. I think TV is a deity, and I could see that. I mean, people. How much screen time do Americans have? If someone tells me that TV is not a deity to the American people,
oh my God, that's why they don't. That's why they refer to it as worshiping the boob tube. You know, it's programming in its finest form.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of boobs on mainstream TV.
Not mainstream. That's what you need the internet for.
Yeah. So I think I really truly think that's a deity. Money is a deity. Or wealth, I should say. People chase that one all the time. But I think you can't chase wealth as a deity and expect to receive something from it. I think you have to accept wealth. So wealth is given to you rather than demanded. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, given to you how or by whom?
Exactly. Wealth is a deity. It is a contemporary deity. Bloop, bloop. Yeah, no, bloop, bloop. Smoke them if you got them. If you're chasing wealth, if that's your goal, your thing, you're never going to achieve it. How many people have gone to the casinos and lost everything because they're chasing wealth? Quite a few. But if you learn the lesson, though, wealth is more likely to come to you. So, anyways, that's just my thought process. Sure. So let's see. A new god called Magic Bus, like Magic School Bus.
Oh,
I know the kids love that one.
Oh, get off that one. Those are those weird portalers going off.
Right? Oh, aren't you one of those weird portalers?
No.
So,
I'm the cause of them.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think there are some contemporary deities, and I think maybe the old gods are perhaps jealous of the new ones, and maybe that's why they're wanting to step forward and starting to impact things and influence
worshipping
things more.
Those idols.
Not necessarily idols, not idols, but new gods.
Well, yeah, idols.
So
that's what the new gods. That's if you want.
I guess I see idols and idolatry as a Christian concept.
Well, yeah, and it is.
So.
It's just it's more of a common, yes. But that's what it is. It's worshiping the golden calf.
Mm-hmm.
It's the new gods. And that's interesting that you bring that up because that does make a certain amount of sense. So, but I think during this time of uncertainty, the spiritual awakening, the revolution of the soul, whatever you want to call it, I like the way you think on that one. The reemergence of the true gods and the soft reveal.
So I don't know where I read it because I read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there is with the emergence of Christianity, the Christian God, or the Abrahamic God, if you will, did something that basically bound the ancient gods and the elder gods, and I think with the emergence of the new gods, the contemporary gods that mankind is worshiping right now, is decreased the power from the Abrahamic God,
Mm-hmm.
which has allowed whatever binding was
It's
to
like the
begin to fray.
Titans breaking loose. Yes.
And so as the bindings fray, then the old gods are coming back, and I think it's just
It's a reckoning.
it's a reckoning. It's a matter of time, and so I think the Christianity is not what it was intended to be, I think.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it was turned into a mechanism of control, or
Yes.
that it wasn't originally thought that way?
Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to be a mechanism of control, but I think people realized that, oh, hey, this is an easy avenue to control the masses,
Mega churches.
right? So yeah, I think, I don't know, I think maybe that's what it was. I think the ancient and elder gods were bound by the Abrahamic gods, and gods. Whoever says the one true God, they are so full of horse pucky, it's not even funny. So the Abrahamic gods bound them, did whatever it was, and with the new gods, the bindings are fraying and weakening, and at some point, yeah, I think the elder gods and old gods will be right here with us.
That's interesting because when you said that, I immediately thought of the Titans and the binding of the Titans, and that's an interesting correlation there.
Mm-hmm.
So
And I think as the old gods are coming re-emerging and being able to touch this world more, I think that's why we're seeing more and more of that type of media becoming more present, both the light and the dark. Because there's been some pretty dark stuff out there as far as yeah, I know, right? So I think I think they're just, as they're influencing the world, those movies are going to become more and more common, and people are going to be more accepting. So it won't be quite the culture shock.
What about the correlation between, say, because you brought that thought up about the binding? It's so hard for me to remember that I'm on camera right now.
Are you going to pick your nose?
I almost did. The binding. So think of the fallen angels, the angels being thrown out of heaven and thrown to the underworld, or to the earth actually. But that brings thoughts of that to my mind as well. Is God and the angels throwing the fallen angels out of heaven, and they fall to the earth, and so you think of it like the binding, like you meant. It's like, or you said, it's an interesting that's an interesting correlation.
Maybe instead of, sure, they were thrown from heaven, but perhaps they were thrown from heaven to be set as the guardians of the bindings.
That's interesting, but why would they be considered evil?
So you wouldn't worship them and give them their own power.
Heresy.
I know, right? I'm a heretic. Burn me at the stake. At least my toes would be warm. Yeah. So
how much time we got left?
We have 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Wow, I can ramble on longer. Interesting.
So, and Lucky asks, why would a true God need an advertising campaign like the Bible? So,
you have to have your mechanisms of propaganda.
So here's what I think when it comes to the Bible being written. I feel that the written word gives form and thought and construction to the energy. So, if you want to bind someone or set something in place, then you have to give it a
Physicality.
physical word. Or yes, so that's why when it comes to spells and rituals, often we say words. It's not just like, hey, I'm gonna do this and that's what's gonna happen. So
I like how you waved your magic
yeah,
wand.
waved my magic wand. Um, here I've got an extra stick. Yeah, but no, it's you, if you don't have that structure, how can you bind something?
Well, and if you go back to the thought that organized religion is a mechanism of control, you have to have your manifestos. Now, you said that you don't believe that's the way it started. Okay, fine. Because there was no Christian Bible. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even called Christianity for centuries after the crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do we find this Bible? In some Dead Sea Scrolls and some writings by people who claim to be prophets, and
Right. Well, I think there was several books. And the Bible is a compilation of books.
Yes,
And
written by a fallible man.
yep. And I think, in a way, they were Christian wizards that actually wrote those books.
Tulpas, I'm telling you, tulpas.
Christian wizards wrote those books to give form or construct to the bindings on the old gods. Now, the other thing, what that was originally written in what, Aramaic?
A lot of it, yeah.
Aramaic or Greek? How many times has it been translated?
Well, and see, that's the thing, and that's where I really take issue, because why is it called the King James Bible? Because it's his edition of the Bible.
So, really twist your tail. If you translate it into a different language, has it lost the strength?
Yes.
So as it's translated into different languages, it's lost strength.
Yes.
And now we've got a brand new Bible that is politically correct to the nines. So has that almost completely untied the bindings?
So when this whole coronavirus thing started, people started finding a book by Dean Koontz. I can't remember the name of the book, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. In it talks about a bioweapon and they called it Wuhan 400. Well, that's not the way the original book was written. It was written as called Gorky 400, and it came from Russia. So, with that being said, in talking about the different editions of the Bible, it happens all the time, even in our modern world.
Mm-hmm.
They want to, so is this a Mandela effect? That it's, do you remember when it was Gorky 400 and not Wuhan 400? Well, they re-edit books all the time. And maybe this is like, the same thing with the Bible. There's the re-edits, and they're moving those checkpoints towards their ultimate goal. Who is they? Well,
Exactly.
I could give you so many examples.
Yeah, there's a whole variety of these, because they probably, in a binding, they probably only bound the most powerful, the most strongest, that were able to influence the world. And so, a single drip of water on a rock will eventually create a hole.
Yep.
And so maybe they felt that this little peon that was loyal to one of the deities didn't bother to bind him, because they thought, well, this person's not gonna, or this individual or this spirit isn't gonna be able to do anything. But you poke at something long enough, and hey.
Well, and so yeah, but so the Bible's been rewritten. It's been fraying the bonds of the gods. The gods have now been able to enact things to happen in our reality, or in our spirituality. And now we're having this reawakening of the spirit, the revolution of the spirit, whatever I said. But So yeah, I mean that makes sense. The it's been watered down, it's been diluted so much that it's now useless. But why would they need it written down? Because, like you said, yeah, I'd have to go with you write down bindings, you write down certain things, and it strengthens that bond. Um, so yeah, but I mean, if you look at it from the conspiracy theory, the control mechanism, it's their propaganda, it's their manifesto. So
Hmm.
ad campaign. It was a good ad campaign, but I think you're right. I think it's losing its power.
Yeah,
So.
I think the marketing is outdated.
Yeah.
And losing its energy. So,
And that's been said. That's been said by the Christians. It's like, oh, we need to change our approach because we're losing the younger generations and blah 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 blah. Well, yeah, because there's an awakening. Yes, there's an end of an age. The end of the
the end of the Christian age, basically.
I'll go with it.
And I'm not sure what the next one will be, but yeah, I think we're rapidly becoming woke. Isn't that a phrase now?
Awaken. Don't say woke. That's a little different.
I'm not hip to the jive. Sorry.
You want to be awakened, not awoken. It's a little bit different.
Had to poke at you because I can. So, Lucky says, I think Odin, Loki, Thor, and Freya will manifest soon. Think of how many times their names have been said out loud by people, especially in the U.S. since the Marvel movies. Yes.
Well, and don't forget, people are naming their cats Odin too.
Odin. So my cat, her name is Drama, but we call her Drama, but her name's actually Andromeda, which is another deity. So, and that's the other thing, as people are naming their critters these things, and I think again giving, that name,
the energy
to the name is giving energy to the deity, and as you give more energy to the deity will become more
physical,
more manifested.
Manifested, yes.
And yeah, absolutely. And the Egyptian gods, same thing, because how many movies have been done on
The Mummy?
The Mummy series, and then they remade The Mummy.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a fail? I don't remember. I didn't see it.
Wasn't that Scientologist guy in that movie?
Yeah, the crazy one. Yeah, the short one. Crazy one. Yeah.
It's not that very big.
Yeah, he's only like 5'6".
Anyhow.
Anyway, so yeah. So I think, I don't know, I think we're in a transitory period,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we will continue seeing and experiencing things that would have been considered signs of insanity in the past, seeing the cryptids, experiencing the paranormal more.
Mm-hmm.
And having or forging stronger bonds and connections to the old gods.
Right.
I think we will definitely be seeing a new something, when we get through this transition. No idea what it looks like. Kind of interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
So, who's on next?
Duke, World Bigfoot Radio. Got Kevin Lang, the final chapter of the Glag series.
Excellent. Yeah, Duke's in the house.
His house.
Yep. So that'll
What
be
up,
cool.
Duke?
So I hope Duke. Yeah. So stay tuned for Duke here on TFR because he's a good dude and he's talking about good stuff. More of that paranormal, cryptid type.
Cryptid stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think cryptids are, again, we're going to see more of them, experience more of them, and I think the names we have attributed to them is our interpretation, but I think they are reminiscent and manifested from creatures that used to be here.
Interesting.
So, and whether it's coming through the veil or different portals or what have you, I don't know, I think the world's going to look a lot different within the next 5 years.
Mm.
I'm giving it 5 years, guys.
5-year transition.
5 to 10. No, to start really seeing what the other side is going to
Because we
start
know the
looking
actual
like.
transition started in 2012. You realize that, right? The man said it.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while. I know that. Just like the sun doesn't just turn on in the morning and turn off in the evening. There's a transition there. It goes up and down, and it slowly gets brighter and brighter, and then at night it slowly gets darker and darker and darker. So yeah,
Kind
it's
of like gaining and losing 3 minutes depending on which season it is.
you're sure okay. So, anyways, thank you for joining me this weekend. Woohoo! 2 hours. We made it. Our first weekend and anniversary time and all that stuff. And thank you for joining us. So this is Paisley Wild, joined by Don Longbeard.
That'd be me.
And you want to send me an email, it's wildepaisley@gmail.com. WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. So thanks for joining. Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again.
Good night, everybody.
Oh Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be this day.